Man, it's great to be working together here. And freaking great lap. I can see you've got a lot of confidence behind the wheel, good car control. The commitment on throttle on the brakes is looking really, really good. So let's continue fine tuning these things here, right? So immediately, let me turn the volume down. So coming into turn one here, the only slight change that I want to see is just a little bit more brake pressure earlier in this brake zone before it really starts to drop downhill. At Barber, the two threshold brake zones are kind of side by side here, right? Turn one, turn four. So what we can see here is you've got about five or a six pedal into turn one. And what I do like for the most part here is your brake release down to the apex and acceleration out of here. So the sort of last third of the corner looks really, really good. But what I want to avoid is if we look really closely here, notice that right before the turning point or right at the turning point, that's where our peak brake pressure comes. So keep looking at this friction circle down here at the bottom right. So look how subtly it's going to go up a little bit. So see how it went up? Our peak brake pressure is right here, right at the back end of the brake zone. So not only are we not hitting the brakes hard enough early in the brake zone, we're also getting to our peak brake pressure late in the brake zone. So your brake pressure graph would look something like this, where we kind of get up to the five pedal, kind of hold it, and then right at the turning point, we increase that little bit, and then you've got a pretty nice little release. Really, what I want to see into turn one is maybe something that looks more like this, where we get more, we kind of hold, and then we've kind of got this release at the same point. Eventually, this is going to let us brake a little bit deeper, compress that brake zone. The car should also feel more comfortable for you at the turning point because you'll actually have less weight on the front end. And I think that'll end up helping you roll just a little bit more speed to the apex point. So sort of two little changes here under the turn one brake zone, okay? Moving forward into turn two, ultimately, I really like the way you're driving turn two. I like the light brake point. I like how the car takes you out wide. I love the patience, the throttle. You're waiting for the front end to get pointed here as you start to squeeze. I just want to see us be a little bit smoother on throttle here. You're a little too aggressive on throttle, and that's where the car's really fighting you, and then we're late back to full throttle because of it. So just a little bit more progressive, a little bit smoother with your right foot as you put the power down, I think will really help keep the tires underneath you here, okay? So into the turn four brake zone, what I like here is our ramp up to threshold braking much faster, and I think we get up to our peak brake pressure here. So I just sort of want to translate the first little bit of the brake zone that you do here into turn one. Obviously, in turn one, we've got a faster release off of it. The thing that's happening in turn four is we're crabbing a little bit here. What does that mean? It means we're moving away from the outside of the corner before we're really turning in. So keep looking at the distance between the outside of the road and your front right side, okay? So see here as I go slow motion. Come on, there it goes. Well, just fighting me a little bit here. Let's go. So see how it's a little bit, you're just not all the way to the outside. So by the time, and it gets worse right about here, right before the turning point. The reason behind this is our eyes are actually too far forward, right? You know, the old adage of where the car goes is where your car goes where your eyes go, right? So I bet you're probably looking here. And then because of that, the car is just sort of moving away from the outside of the road. I want you to continue to look for your turning point just that little bit longer. We just need to sort of delay our eye timing here. Your reference points are good. We just need to delay that eye timing because if you were simply still looking at the turning point, at least with your peripheral vision, you would see, oh shit, I'm not to the outside of the road, and you would have gotten there. The way that I like to visualize this is a really stupid, crude example, but bear with me here, is there's a water bottle in front of me, right? If I'm reaching for the water bottle and I take my eyes up too early, well, I miss the water bottle, right? But at the same time, I don't need to look at the water bottle until my hand touches it to know I'm going to grab it, right? I sort of look at the water bottle until I see my trajectory is on point, and then I can take my eyes off and I can still grab it. The car is the same sort of way. You want to look at a reference point until you know you're going to hit it, until you've got the right trajectory, and then you get your eyes up to the next reference point, right? So we just need to delay that point just that little bit longer just here. Your eyes look good everywhere else, really. So like, for example, here to turn one, I'm looking at the turning point. I'm looking at the turning point. Notice how already here I would have seen, I've been moving away from the outside. Let me get back. And then right about now is where I'm transitioning my eyes, the focal point of my eyes from the apex, from the turning point to the apex. And then I'm going to pick up that turning point with my peripheral vision. Now I'm turning in from a half car with wider, which is also going to help me apex that little bit later. And then it's also going to help me have a better, more rotation here. And that's going to help me get a better acceleration out of here. So just everything will be better for you there. Okay. So into, I think this is 678 or 789. I can never remember on top of my head. Really good through the first right-hander here. Love how much speed you're rolling through here. You don't need the throttle. Just what I want to see is I'm okay with a little bit of brake application here. As you come over this curb, I actually want to release off the brakes. The braking over the top of this curb can really upset the car, and you actually end up over-slowing this, and you're going to see this at corner exit. So I actually want to release off the brakes here and then get back on the brakes as the car lands on the other side, okay? And then, whoopsies, didn't mean to do that. Let's go back farther forward. Where were we? Keep going. Come on. Come in here, right? So nice brake. Release, roll speed, coast. Light on the brakes, off the brakes, on the brakes here. And then I actually want a little bit later of an apex here. So with the more speed, the car won't respond as well here because the tires will be sliding because you've got more speed. So I actually want to kind of come through an apex more out over here where you're already apexing. So it's just like, essentially all you need here is just a little bit more speed. It's not necessarily turning later or holding it left longer. You know, maybe it's holding it left a little longer, but it's just a tiny bit later there. The second point is our exit reference point is a little bit too late. So where I'm focused here is my exit reference point. It's a little hard to see, but the very start of this exit curve, I want to come out and I'm almost going to be parallel with the curve by the start of it. If I play this farther forward, look where we get all the way parallel with this curve, right? So here's the start of the curve right here. I'm almost all the way wide right. I'm definitely all the way wide and parallel to the curve now. See how you've got a car width of road out there that you're not using? You get all the way out to the curve almost at the end of this first section. Why is this important? Well, if I am getting wider earlier, what does that mean? It means I've got a little less steering angle, right? And what's preventing you from being more aggressive on throttle earlier? It's how much steering input you've got in the car. So by having just a few degrees less steering input from that apex point all the way till about here, is A, it's going to get you back to full throttle earlier, and B, it's just going to be scrubbing that little bit of speed. You're probably back to full throttle now, but you're still scrubbing a little bit of speed because you've got steering angle. So we just want to really unwind the steering wheel, and that'll going to let you get back to full throttle that little bit earlier, okay? I've got really just two more notes for you because it's a really well-driven lap. Don't change a thing through here. Really, really good job. Through the next fast left right, I just want to slow our hands down a little bit into the next right. So we're good through here. The turning point for this next right-hander is far too violent. Big turning point. I need you to, as you come back to the right, it's a quick turn, but we're going to slow our hands down just a little bit. When you turn too fast, what ends up happening is the weight shifts. But when the weight shifts too fast, it blows through the platform the springs can support, and it sort of collapses and it shocks the tire. So we just want to turn in slightly slower here to not upset the car. So it finds the platform, grips, and goes. I think the car will be working a little bit better and fighting you a little bit less through here, okay? We're good through here. The last note is through this long right-hander. It's so challenging because of vision. We can stay on throttle longer. We could be more aggressive to throttle, and we can delay our brake zone here. The way we're going to do this is I actually want to get almost all the way wide before I turn in for this next right-hander. I know how blind it is here, but I'm trying to look for that outside curve, right? So what I can show you here is I want to be kind of committing back to full throttle here, and I want the car taking me wider, taking me wider, taking me wider. Right about now, I'm more mid-track. I'm looking for this curve, and then when I kind of start to see it, I open my hands, and then I start to brake towards the outside. So right now, you're turning in from the inside of the racetrack. I'm probably turning at the same point, but I'm turning from pretty much all the way wide. Think about how much tighter this corner is for you versus me. And you end up apexing in a pretty good spot, but we way overslow it simply because we're so far to the inside here. So before we start talking about, committing back to full throttle and holding full throttle deep in this corner, I simply want you to start getting comfortable getting the car wider out over here, turning in from the outside of the racetrack. That's going to make this corner way easier for you. And I think that's going to systematically help you carry full throttle that little bit deeper into the corner and get onto the brakes deeper into the corner as well. Because I think long term, I think you'll be probably flat till about here, or pretty aggressive till about here, and then light braking, light braking, light braking, light braking, off the brakes, roll throttle, full throttle, and then turn it into this final left-hander. Final left-hander is really good. Just smooth out your throttle application just that little bit here. We kind of get a little bit too aggressive on the very end, but ultimately it's a really well-driven lap. Little bit through turn 1, turn 4, that turn, I think, a 7-8 section in the back there. A little bit in the fast kink up the top of the hill. I think that's like 12, and then like 14, 15 here. I think if I get my corners numbers wrong, I apologize. But I think you know which one I'm talking about. So that's that. From the dashboard here, just as an FYI, if you click on this up here, this is our messaging center. So you can see these are like all of the customers that I'm working with here alongside you. This is where you can message me, okay? And then you can also message me from our iOS mobile app. You'll get push notifications, things like that. You'll get emails when you have unread messages. So just make sure none of that is going to like the junk folder or something like that, okay? So any follow-up questions, just let me know, and we'll keep rocking it, man, but really good job.